Hello and welcome to our notes for lesson 4. In this set of notes, there's actually no blanks to fill in, but as you follow along, I encourage you to underline or highlight or mark certain items, especially as I'll be relating them to the lesson 4 study guide. So we began this quarter talking about how there are different ways to study the Bible, and then we looked at background ways of studying the Bible, the people, events, and culture and places that helped create the Bible. And then we spent 2 weeks looking at the language of the Bible and how people study the ancient languages, such as Greek, and how they conduct textual criticism, and then also the different ways to translate from one language to another. In this last part, we're going to talk about 4 other ways, really, that people study the Bible. One is studying with the way it was written, the style. Now, style is a bit different than genre. Genre is a type, styles a way. So, for instance, you could say Paul sounds angry in these chapters. That'd be an example of a style. So anger isn't a genre, but it's more the way something's done, rather than the genre is type. So it's not genre because it's not type. Another way to study the Bible is by looking at how different verses and chapters and paragraphs and sentences relate to one another. And so this idea of studying the relationship, the ideas of studying the relationship, that has to do with the structure. So the most important word there is the relationship. The most important word for style would be the way. And then number 3, the content is the meaning. Like, what does this verse mean? Or what is this saying? Or, sorry. So what is this? I'm sorry, my app closed. So the relationship has to do with the structure, and the meaning has to do with the content. And these items right here, listed 1, 2, and 3, those all relate to 2A, B, and C on your study guide. So make sure you understand those key definitions. Now, the best way to find out answers to these questions about style and structure and content is to use a commentary. So if you have a style, structure, or content question, a commentary is the way to go. Usually at the very end of the introduction is where you can find the structure. And so, for instance, in this Bible commentary here, if you look at this article on 1 Peter, if you scroll down, here's the introduction. There's a handout with this on it, but I just added to these notes for my own sake to keep it simple. So if you scroll down the end of the introduction, see there's an outline right here. And this outline would go over the structure, which verses go together. You see 1 and 2 go together, chapter 1, verse 3 through chapter 2, verse 10, and the different subsections. So outline right here, that tells you the structure. Here's another Bible dictionary. Bible encyclopedia, Harper's Bible commentary, and again, here's the introduction, and at the end of the introduction, that does actually have the outline on this one. So usually at the end of the introduction is where you get the structure, but a commentary, again, is the best resource to use. The style and content will then be in the different sections according to the verses that go together. And that's when they'll usually talk about the style and they'll talk about the content. Sometimes they'll also talk about linguistic issues and interpretation as well. But so this is how a commentary basically works. You have an introduction, At the end of the introduction, you get a structure, an outline, and then there's the commentary. And so if you look at this example right here, where it says commentary, this paragraph talks about verses 1 and 2, the style and contents of verses 1 and 2. This next section talks about chapter 1, verse 3 through verse 25, and so forth. In this commentary, again, you have an introduction, and then after the introduction, you have the commentary section, and the verses are structured together. So again, it talks about verses 1 through 2 in that section. Then it talks about verses 3 through 9 here, verses 13 through 16, and so on. So you just find the heading of the verses that you want, and it just goes in order. Chapter 1, verse 1, all the way to the last chapter and the last verse. If you bought a single volume commentary that was only on one book of the Bible, usually it lists in the table of contents what pages on it. So let's say you wanted to study Deuteronomy 4, 1 through 8. You'd look here and you'd find, there's chapter 4, 1 through 8. And then you would go to page 54, and that would tell you what pages you want to start reading. But again, notice the chapters go in order from chapter 1, verse 1, to chapter 2, verse 1, to chapter 3, and through 11, then 3:12 to 29, 4, 1 through 8, 9 through 31, 32 to 40, etc. So again, commentaries go in canonical order, meaning they start at the beginning of the Bible or the beginning of a book and go chapter by chapter, verse by verse, book by book, until you get to the end. Versus dictionaries go in order of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Another great resource to use is sometimes you can use Bible dictionaries to look up style or themes which are related to content. So for instance, you could look up a topic in a Bible dictionary. So you couldn't look up a chapter and a verse in a Bible dictionary, but you could look up topics. So commentaries, you look up verses. So commentaries look up verses, and in Bible dictionaries, you can look up words or themes. So for instance, let's say you wanted to study in the Bible topics like love. You could look up the word love, or marriage. You could look up marriage, or righteousness, or salvation, or peace, or money, or sexuality, or heaven, or hell, or etc. Any topic related to the Bible. If you have a good Bible dictionary, you can look up that topic. So again, a commentary will help you if you're looking up chapters and verses in the Bible. But if you're looking up a topic in the Bible, then you want to use a Bible dictionary. Here's an example of how a Bible dictionary article would look. So let's say if you wanted to study homosexuality, that's a hot topic today, and you want to know what the Bible says about that. Well, you could look up under H. Again, in this case, it's a Bible dictionary or encyclopedia, so you have to go to the H's, and you find homosexuality, and then you could read, again, it would have some basic information, and then more detailed information according to the different parts of the Bible, and at the end you have a bibliography and the author listed at the end. So again, in a commentary, the author is listed at the beginning, but in a Bible dictionary, the author is listed at the end. Another great resource if you are looking at trying to study the Bible more is to get a study Bible. Now, a study Bible is a little bit of everything. It not only includes the biblical text, so you get a Bible, but you also get a brief commentary, you get a basic Bible dictionary, and then you get other helpful information like articles, maps, and sometimes a basic concordance. We'll talk about a concordance in a later set of notes. And Study Bible is on your study guide too, so make sure you know that is 3B. And this section here is related to about Bible dictionaries. That's related to study guide number number 4. Oh, I'm sorry, number 7. So study guide number 7. So number 7 is related to looking up words. So basically, again, you could pick a topic you want to learn about. I want to learn about peace in the Bible, and then you'd look up the word peace. Or I want to learn about money in the Bible, so I look up the word money. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do that because I can't bring all these books to you or take all the pictures you need. But again, if hopefully at some point you can use or even own a Bible dictionary or encyclopedia set and get great information. Finally, another source to use related to biblical themes or content is a concordance, and this has to do with study guide number 3A. And a concordance lists every instance of a particular word when it's used in the Bible. So if you wanted to find every time the Bible mentions the word love, or every time the Bible mentions the word Jesus, or righteousness, or peace, or God, whatever it is, any word, you can look up in this concordance. And the easiest way to do this is to use Blue Letter Bible. We used this before when we were looking up the Greek words, and now we're going to use it again, and I'll show you a different set of tools on this website. So if you go to blueletterbible.org, this time, instead of looking up a verse in the Bible, now we're going to look up a word in the Bible. This is how we use the concordance. So let's say I wanted to study every time it says love in the Bible. And in this case, you can pick any translation you want. So if I usually use the NIV, I could pick NIV, and I want to look up the word love every time in the Bible in the NIV. And if you notice here, it says that it happens 574 times in 526 verses. And then it starts listing them. Genesis 4:1 is the first time, and then 4:17, etc., etc. And so there's a lot of Bible verses to pick from. But let's say I wanted to be more specific and not just read all 500 verses. So in this case, I'll type in the word I wanted to learn about. So I want to learn about love. I can pick any translation. I'll pick the NIV. But now I can go to the advanced options. And in the advanced, I can say whether I want to look up just in the Old Testament, or just in the New Testament, or just in a certain part of the Bible, such as the Gospels, or the Johannine writings, that's the John books, if you remember, or the Pauline or general epistles, all those sections of the Bible we've talked about. Or I can look up a specific book of the Bible. I could even look a specific chapter up. I could type in here in the custom selection, I could say, I want to find the word love in Romans 13. So every time it says love in Romans 13, that's what it would tell me in verses 8, 9, and 10. So that's a great way to find Bible verses. In fact, when I pick out the Bible verses for our school theme every year, I usually use this very tool, and I'll say, okay, we're going to talk about faith, and I'll type in every possible, I'll read through every verse that mentions the word faith. Another way to get better results is to use different forms of a word, because this will only look up the exact word you type. And so to do that, you could say, okay, I want to look up love, and then you do all capital letters. You'd say or, and then put a synonym, loved. And then as long as it says all capital letters, it won't look up the or. It'll just look for all these different combinations. Or loving. So now I'm looking up love, loved, or loving. And so now it even went up more to 675. You could use other kinds of synonyms. For instance, when I picked out this year's theme verse, I looked up the words faith, again, all capital letters, or trust, or believe, and you could keep going. Believed, trusted, trusting, believing, etc., etc. And so this is how you could find different verses. You can also look up phrases. Maybe if you knew a couple verses, a couple words of a Bible verse, but not all of it, you could look up the words in the beginning, and you couldn't remember what Bible verses say that, but you knew some did. And I would look up for those words, and you find out, oh, it's not just Genesis 1:1 or John 1. There are other times where it says in the beginning. You could look up, you could also look up combinations of words. So if you remembered that a word talks about love and God, you put the and in all caps, and all of a sudden you can find any verses that have both of those words in it. So now you find out, oh, there's not many that have both the word love and God in them. But there are some. So, I guess there actually are a lot. 251 times in 105 verses. So these are some tools. Again, this is called a concordance, and this allows you to look up words in the Bible and find the verses that you're wanting to study. And maybe you don't know what the verses are, but you know what words you want or topics you want. Sorry about the delay. So on your study guide, you should know what concordance is, a study Bible is, and you should be able to use Blue Letter Bible and use the concordance and find out verses that have, I'll give you a word, like I'll say, tell me 3 verses in the book of John that have the word love in it or something like that. And I'll see if you can use this tool to find those. All right. And you should also be able to find verses or relevant information in a Bible commentary and know how to use a Bible dictionary to find information as well. Finally, then, we'll talk about application of the Bible. So we've talked about style and structure and content. We've talked about how to look up words in Blue Letter Bible and the concordance. So let's talk about application. Now, application questions relate to the impact of the Bible. So what happens after people are reading the Bible? Again, it's like the opposite of background. Background is before the Bible's written. Application is after the Bible's read. You can think of it that way. In linguistic, and the content and the style and structure are all what's in the Bible. So we can think about it this way. This is the linguistic and the content, style, and structure. That's the Bible. But then you have the people and the places. There's a little map. Or the culture that help produce the Bible. And then you also get the people that read the Bible, whether people who lived a long time ago or people like you and me who live now, or people who will live after us. So application can be past, meaning you want to see how people applied the Bible a long time ago. So you might ask yourselves, is this one of the reasons why so many Christians in early America were okay with owning slaves? So, and people in, hopefully, at least not publicly, Christians in America are no longer owning slaves, and not legally. But there was a time where many people who read the Bible and believed in the Bible said that it was okay and good for them to own slaves. And so you might ask, why was that? And you could see how they applied the Bible. So that was how the Bible used to be interpreted. Then there's present application. In this case, you're asking about yourself. You're looking at applying the Bible now, today. How does this passage relate to the debate about homosexuality in America today? And then there's future or conditional application. In this case, it hasn't been applied yet, but it could. So you might say, imagine how different our school would be if everyone lived out the ideals of verse 16. So in that case, it hasn't happened yet, but you're hoping and envisioning how it could. But in each case, you're looking at how the Bible would shape life, whether life in the past, life in the present, or life in the future. And these items are all related to the study guide number 2, D, E, and F. So study guide 2, D, E, and F. Sometimes there'll be reflections about application in commentaries. So again, a commentary is a great resource, and if you're looking at verses or how these verses might be applied, that's a great way to find an answer. You could also look up topics again in Bible dictionaries. So let's say you wanted to look at love and how to be more loving. What does the Bible teach about love? They might have application ideas in a Bible dictionary. In a commentary, the sections that are about applying the Bible rather than explaining it are often called application or theology or discursus. Another topic is doctrine. That's one I forgot to write. But doctrine's another one some commentaries use, meaning they're going to apply the Bible rather than just explain what the author was saying or the style or the language. You can also look up topics in concordance. Again, if you want to learn more about faith in the Bible, type in the word faith, and you'll see all the different Bible verses that mention the word faith. So there are also other books and websites. Again, it's important to keep in mind which ones are scholarly or popular, and it's not that they're wrong if they're not scholarly, but it's just important to keep in mind that lots of people have opinions about the Bible, and so you want to make sure you're getting accurate information. This last part is some next steps, and I'm not going to go over it, but I just want to encourage you to think about using these tools because they can help you in many ways, whether you're doing work for another class. I had a student once get a Bible dictionary out as they were working on their senior project and wanted to get some Bible verses related to their topic, or a concordance if you're giving a youth group lesson or a Bible study. If you're writing, I had another student use commentaries during college at Brown University to write a paper comparing the book of Jonah and another ancient story of another culture. And so there's lots of ways you can use these resources, and I hope that you will. And I have some recommendations of purchases and other things. So that concludes our lesson 4 notes, and you should be able to do everything on the upcoming quiz. Again, for a Bible commentary, I feel like I rushed that a little bit. Remember that the author is at the beginning, the title, and then the author, and then you have your introduction, the outlines at the end of that, and then it starts the commentary. And you look in order of the verses to find the verse you want. And with that, I will say goodbye.